Before we dive into the fascinating world of time travel in the Star Trek universe, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to show your support for more support. Attached this video. Leonard Nimoy's iconic portrayal of Mr. Spock has captivated audiences for decades, and his character's time traveling adventures are a significant part of that appeal. As a half Vulcan, half human, Spock's unique heritage often found in torn between logic and emotion, but he consistently chose to prioritize logic even when his human emotions occasionally surfaced. Um, Time travel has been a staple of science fiction for a long time, and the Star Trek series has not shied away from exploring this concept. In fact, almost every Star Trek series has included stories that involve time travel in one way or another, suggesting that many characters from this franchise have left their own eras behind their face on the justice and maze of this game. Now, among these numerous time-traveling Star Trek characters, Captain Kirk and his crew frequently traveled through time during Star Trek the original series and its sequels, while Spock embarked on a trip to an alternate past in the 2009 reboot of Star Trek. Spock has made more journeys through time than most other characters. And his experiences have been some of the most memorable in the franchise. Um, let's take a look at 6 of the most notable times Spock time traveled in Star Trek. In the episode Tomorrow is Yesterday, the USS Enterprise finds itself transported to 1960s Earth, and what Captain Kirk and his crew must navigate this unexpected journey, which leads to a meeting between Kirk and an Air Force pilot named Captain John Christopher. To save Christopher's life, Kirk teleports the pilot onto the Enterprise. He frets about the consequences this might have on history. And later, Kirk descends to Earth to obtain the footage Christopher had recorded of the Enterprise, but he is captured by Air Force officials. To save Kirk, Spock beams down along with Captain Christopher to rescue him. In this scenario, Spock and Mr. Scott devise a strategy to travel back to their original time by skirting the sun with a daring technique known as a slingshot. And as the Enterprise carries out this tricky move, time flows in reverse, allowing Kirk to be transported back to his aircraft at the very instant before he first laid eyes on the Enterprise. Christopher's recollections of the incident are wiped clean, as if the Enterprise had simply never existed for him. Spock carefully calculated the risks involved with this daring slingshot maneuver, and it proved to be a tactic that the Enterprise would employ again in the future. In the episode The City on the Edge of Forever, Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock joined Dr. Leonard McCoy as they time traveled to 1930s New York City upon encountering a potent portal called the Guardian of Forever. It becomes necessary for Kirk and Spock to rectify the unintentional alterations McCoy made to history. Once in the 30s, they attempt to fit in, with Spock concealing his Vulcan ears under a hat. They eventually wind up at a nearby soup kitchen where they come across Sister Edith Keeler. In the story, The City on the Edge of Forever, it's Spock who discovers McCoy's alteration of the timeline when Edith Keeler survives. As Kirk becomes entangled in a romantic affair with her, Spock realizes that her life must be sacrificed to preserve the future as intended. Despite his heartache, Kirk agrees, and they all return to their original time via a portal. Throughout this tale, Kirk is the central figure, um, but it's Spock who orchestrates the events to ensure they unfold as destined. In the episode Assignment Earth, Captain Kirk and the Starship Enterprise journey to 1960s Earth. And so during their stay, they come across a man named Gary Seven, who asserts that he's on a critical mission with significant implications for Earth's history. Spock uncovers that the United States is about to launch an orbital nuclear weapons platform, which he believes to be the event Gary Seven had mentioned. Kirk and Spock follow Gary Seven's trail to learn more about his activities, ultimately enabling him to carry out his objective, the elimination of a nuclear missile. In doing so, they indirectly discourage human development in this destructive technology. And later, after the timeline is secured, Kirk and Spock share with Gary Seven and his associate Roberta Lincoln that their future holds exciting events, hinting at a potential spin-off in the series, albeit one that never came to fruition. In the episode All Our Yesterdays, Spock and Dr. McCoy unexpectedly travel 5,000 years back in time to an ice age on the planet Sarpedon. They meet a woman named Zarabeth who guides them through their new surroundings and assists them in adjusting to the harsh climate. Spock, however, behaves unusually affectionate, eventually developing feelings for Zarabeth, who, when Spock engages in physical conflict with McCoy, the Doctor comes to understand that Spock is slipping back into the primitive behavior characteristic of ancient Vulcans. Despite his desire to remain with Zarabeth, Spock eventually recognizes the need for him and McCoy to journey back to their own era concurrently. In the finale, they pass through the planet's time vortex, restoring Spock to his usual logical state. Among all Star Trek, the original series episodes involving time travel, All Our Yesterdays showcases Spock most prominently and allows him to explore a greater variety of feelings than one reason for him is typical for him. In the movie Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, Admiral Kirk and his team, having seized a Klingon bird of prey, venture back to 1986 San Francisco for the sake of safeguarding their future. To respond to an enigmatic alien probe's summons, Kirk and his team are tasked with locating whales to return to their time. They employ the slingshot technique initially introduced in Tomorrow is Yesterday to traverse time and conceal their cloaked ship within Golden Gate Park. Afterward, Kirk and Spock embarked on a quest to locate some humpback whales, while the remainder of the crew attended to other tasks. En route home, Spock offers up some of Star Trek IV's most amusing instances as he exchanges banter with Kirk as well as the denizens of 1980s San Francisco. Not long after, Kirk and Spock encountered Dr. Gillian Taylor, who tended to two whales named George and Gracie at a local aquarium. As it turns out, these whales were set to be freed into their natural habitat soon, and Kirk attempted to share his objectives with Gillian, but she remained skeptical, single or in due course. Kirk assumes command of the bounty, where it saves George and Gracie from pursuing whalers, and subsequently journeys back to its own time with Gillian Taylor as a passenger aboard. The whales heed the probe's call, averting disaster for Earth. Many accusations against the Enterprise crew from their prior escapades are withdrawn, but Kirk experiences a demotion to captain rank. Before embarking on the refurbished USS Enterprise A, Spock renews his bond with his father, Ambassador Sarek, in the 2009 reboot of Star Trek. Spock Prime plays a significant role in shaping the alternate Kelvin universe. In the original timeline, Spock from the Prime universe attempted to prevent Romulus from being annihilated by a catastrophic supernova. However, he failed to save Romulus from its destruction, but he managed to halt the supernova's progression by generating a black hole instead. However, Romulan named Nero stopped Spock from fleeing, resulting in both vessels being drawn through the black hole towards the past. Upon arrival, it was Nero who reached first, annihilating the USS Kelvin and thereby creating an altered timeline. Spock followed suit 25 years later, not only going back in time, but also into this new alternate reality. In the aftermath of Romulus's destruction, Nero retaliated by destroying Spock's native planet, Vulcan. While marooned on Delta Vega, the elder Spock informed a young James T. Kirk about these events and encouraged him to assume command of the Enterprise in order to save Earth from Nero's wrath. After Earth was successfully saved, Prime Spock began arranging for a new Vulcan colony and urged his younger counterpart to continue serving in Starfleet. And throughout his life, Spock became one of the most seasoned time travelers in Star Trek, eventually spending his twilight years rebuilding an alternate reality Vulcan before his demise in the Kelvin timeline. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time,